Hey everyone, how's it going? So, Magmar and Electabuzz are Pokemon people have been asking me to do for a really long time, so I thought I'd start with Magmar. Magmar is interesting. I mean, its stats are, for a fully evolved Pokemon or a Pokemon that doesn't evolve, just okay. Its best stat is its attack, which we get some decent attacking moves. Actually, we can look at its moveset. The moveset isn't great. I mean, realistically, we're going to have to rely on 2 or 3 moves throughout the run. And if it got like a ground move, that would be really good. It's going to be a little rough. But thankfully, because it does start with Ember, Brock shouldn't be too bad. I did battle all the trainers in Viridian Forest as well as the youngster. So by the time I start battling Brock, I'm at level 11, which isn't too bad. We literally only have Ember, but since Ember has a chance to burn, we do have a chance that Geodude doesn't attack because Brock will always full heal. Against Onix, we just need good luck. If it goes for Bide, ooh, could be first try victory? Let's go! Okay, that's exactly what we wanted. So I would have reset a few times. There's really very little I can do. Magmar doesn't learn any new moves at all until level 36. And that's going to be a little annoying because Ember isn't that great a fire move. But thankfully, once we get to Mount Moon, we can pick up TM1 Mega Punch. Now, usually Mega Punch is just a holdover for Body Slam, which it is in this run too. However, we might try to defeat Misty with just Mega Punch. That would be a lot quicker than having to go back and forth. But whether we're going to be able to actually beat Misty with the Magmar, don't get me wrong, we're going to battle Rival 2 first, but can we even beat Misty after Nugget Bridge? Let's find out, but first, Rival 2, who also could be pretty problematic. Alright, well, like always, he leads with Pidgeotto. I'm going to try going for Mega Punch because it does more damage, but it misses, and that's kind of the problem with Mega Punch. Once I get hit with Sand Attack, it's just over. I mean, we do knock out Pidgeotto, and funny enough, Abra on 1 Mega Punch, but then we miss Ember a few times against Rattata. We don't knock it out, and yeah, Quick Attack. So essentially, I'd like the first Mega Punch to hit. Mega Punch is based 80 power, I believe, so it will do more damage, but Ember is obviously more consistent. Still, 4 KO is not really what we'd like. So if I have to do this again, I will resort to Mega Punch. I do use Ember against Rattata, and then Mega Punch against Squirtle. It's going to take 3 hits. Oh, 2. Critical hit. Well, you can see there why Mega Punch was so useful. Again, we literally have no other move. We could teach Bide, but eh. Anyway, there's really going to be nothing too difficult on Nugget Bridge. So let's fast forward a bit and try to battle Misty. This probably won't go super well. If we have any chance of winning, we're going to need to outspeed, but I don't know if we do. All right, Misty leads with Staryu. Do we outspeed? Yes. We don't one-shot, and okay, that was a crit, but yeah, no. We could try again for, I don't know what reason. That's just not going to happen. Very unfortunate. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to skip Surge because we're not going to be able to use Cut. And we're going to actually have to come back to Surge probably after we defeat Erica. So yeah, let's go ahead to the SS Anne. And I guess the next battle, well, I don't guess. I know the next battle we're going to see is Rival 3. All right, so at this point, we do have Body Slam, and that's good because it crits and knocks out Pidgeotto. It doesn't knock out Raticate in one hit, and it does quite a lot of damage to us. It will knock out Kadabra, and it is a 2-shot against Wartortle. Body Slam is not just more powerful than Mega Punch, but it has the chance to paralyze anything that isn't a normal Pokemon. Yeah, Gen 1's weird. And it can't miss. Well, I mean, it can miss. Again, Gen 1's weird. But yay, Body Slam. We haven't used that in a while. So, nice to get that back. Alright, so like I said just a minute ago, I'd like to battle Surge, but since I can't use Cut outside of battle, we can't do that yet. So we're going to have to dig back to Cerulean City, and we're going to have to battle Misty. With Body Slam, it should be a lot easier. We're also a little higher level, and that could make me outspeed Starmie. This could go well, let's see. Now, ideally, we one-shot Staryu, and we Stardew Valley. I don't know. Anyway, Starmie, it's going to be a 2-shot. It goes for next Defend, and then rather than going for Bubble Beam, it goes for Water Gun. If it got a crit with Bubble Beam, it would have won, but this was a pretty consistent battle. The level ups plus Body Slam made a huge difference, and we can move on to the second part of the run. Now, there is one trainer that typically gives me a hard time if we don't have a good move, and that is the Hiker in Rock Tunnel with the 2 Geodude and the Graveler, and they like to use Self-Destruct. How did that battle go? Not bad. It took me a few times to beat the Hiker. Essentially, what we need to have happen is we're going to use Ember because its special is bad. Now, we want Geodude to go for Defense Curl or Tackle. If it goes for Rock Throw, it's not the best thing. If it hits, it's bad. If it misses, though, it's really good. Missing is really good. Self-Destruct isn't amazing. We won't survive Graveler Self-Destruct anyway, but having a little bit more HP to play with would be nice, because that way if Graveler decides to use Rock Throw, it's not such a big deal. Thankfully, with a special move, it's not so horrible. I did run out of potions, so I wasn't able to be at full HP, but as you can see, as AJ speeds up the footage to watch, it only took, 4 or 5 tries to win. That's not so bad. Sometimes we can be stuck here for a really long time, and we can move on to the next part of the game. Now, we're in a weird situation with Magmar, and I also made a bit of a mistake here. I'll talk about this towards the end of the video, but if there's a move you don't see me have that you think I should, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But anywho, what I decide to do, which is not what I usually do, is battle Erica immediately, because I am a fire type, and so Erica's moves shouldn't do that much damage to me. So Erica as always leads off with Victory Bell. You can see we're at level 29. We don't get a better fire move, aka Fire Punch, until level 43. So we're going to have to rely on Body Slam and Ember, but it's really not that big a deal, because what can Vileplume really do? I'm even poisoned, and it's still an easy first try victory. Not bad at all. Now we have 2 options. We can go battle Lieutenant Surge, which gives us the ability to fly, or we can go right into the game corner. Well, as you can see, I decided to go to the game corner first. The best move we have for these Pokemon is Ember, asterisk, but it's fine. It takes 3 hits to knock out Onix, and it takes 3 hits to knock out Rhyhorn, although the burn might have helped. Ember also takes 3 hits, but Kangaskhan goes for Rage, and so it's an easy first try victory, even though our moves aren't so great. So now that we have the Silph Scope, it's time to go shopping. We have tons of money, we'll buy a bunch of calciums, we'll get Fly, and then before we battle Rival 4, we will battle Lieutenant Surge, and he should be at this point extremely easy. Usually I make fun of how easy Surge is, but in this case, we're actually extremely over-leveled because we had to delay this battle. So I feel bad even making fun of Surge. You're not supposed to battle him after you've beaten Erica and Giovanni, but we beat him, and now we get Thunderbolt. Too bad we can't learn Thunderbolt. I actually think Magmortar gets Thunderbolt in later generations, but unfortunately that is not the case in Gen 1. So now we're going to fly to Lavender, and we're going to go battle Rival 4 after we heal. So let's just skip ahead. So he leads with Pidgeotto. We can just go for Body Slam. It's still more powerful than Ember, and we can use Ember to finish it off. Body Slam one-shots Growlithe. Ember should one-shot Execute, and it does. Body Slam one-shots Kadabra, and it should two-shot Wartortle. Actually, a crit, it one-shot. Awesome. So now we have to decide where we're going to go next. We don't really have great moves either for Koga because our best move is Body Slam, nor do we have great moves for Rival 5. So what are we going to do after we defeat the Pokemon Tower? Well, I elect to battle Koga. I wish I had Fire Punch, but I have to go for Ember. It does less than half. I accidentally use Mega Punch, and it's a 3-hit KO. That's not a good sign. Body Slam does about a third, and I actually meant to heal. So it's a 4-hit KO on Muck after using Ember. I'm going to go for Ember again, but unfortunately, even if Weezing uses Self-Destruct, actually goes for Sludge, it would knock me out. So this is just definitely not going to work. Our moves simply aren't good enough to beat Koga at this point. So we're going to probably have to go to Silph Company and battle Rival 5. I battled a few trainers to level up a little bit more, so I'm at level 38. We outspeed him. Body Slam is a 3-hit KO. I go for Ember and I get a lucky burn, so we knock out Pidgeot. Body Slam is a 2-hit KO on Growlithe that goes for Leer. Execute, Ember, Stun Spore unfortunately paralyzes, but we do knock it out. Now Alakazam, recover on full health, and it's almost a 1-hit KO. We're at level 39 and we get Confuse Ray. We can delete Leer And we might be able to use that against Blastoise. We get a really lucky crit and a paralysis, but unfortunately, after it uses Withdraw, we're not able to knock it out. But based on that result, especially if we weren't paralyzed, I actually think there's a solid chance we could win right here and right now. All right, so we're still at level 38. I haven't leveled up. I have my Body Slam working, and 90 HP is pretty good. Growlithe, Body Slam, Roar is fine. Knock it out. Execute, we don't want paralysis. Crit will do that. And now Alakazam, Confusion is perfect. It gets paralyzed, so we're going to knock it out. And now we just need some good luck against Blastoise. We can delete Mega Punch because we don't really need it. And I'm going to go for Leer and then Body Slam. It's going to be a 2-hit KO. Withdraw, but we get the paralysis and it's fully paralyzed. And oh my gosh, it goes for Withdraw. I can't believe it survived. But on our second try, that's a lie. This took me like 6 tries. More maybe? More like 10. But yeah, I knew it could happen. You might be able to tell there's something wrong here. Usually I'd show a lot of losing battles, but I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm not sure how I want to proceed. You see, let me show you a different battle with Rival Fivel and see if you can spot the difference. All right, so I'm not going to really explain why this is my first time battling Rival Fivel, but it is. You can see I saved just now. It's my first time. So we're going to go for Body Slam against Pidgeot, and here's where I messed up. You see, I forgot Magmar can learn Psychic. And what if I told you the rest of the run you saw up to this point, I did not know that and didn't do it. So the entire run, I don't use Psychic, which, see, here's the problem. So it's actually a second try victory. I thought it was a first try victory, but let me talk about the mistake. I've never made a mistake like this. We've been doing these videos. We're almost halfway done. I'm really good, but sometimes I don't know why I thought the Psychic move was Rest. I had no idea Magmar can learn Psychic. It still can learn Psychic. It just was a mistake on my end. Oh, it looks like it was a third try. Anyway, I have a lot to talk about. So I'm really struggling which run should I show. Usually, I only show the first run. That's the whole point of these videos. A second run, you learn things, and you're able to do things differently. However, I'll be honest with you, using Psychic, aside from making some battles more consistent, actually doesn't make a huge difference. So I'm going to tell you that going forward, I'm going to show you the first run, the run that I don't use Psychic. But at the end, I'll explain how Psychic does change the run, and again, it changes it shockingly less than you'd expect. But don't worry, I have 2 full runs completed, and when it comes to the tier list, we can decide a little bit later which time we want to use. They're not that different. Anyway, so back to the first run, the Psychic-less run. So without Psychic, Giovanni 2 is a little more tough. We have to rely on Body Slam, which we've actually run out of power points for. So we're going to have to switch to Ember, which you might think is a big deal. Ended up not being that big a deal. You can also see we're really, really close to level 43, and that means we're really close to getting Fire Punch. We don't get Flamethrower until like level 55. We'll actually have Fire Blast from Blaine before then. But yeah, Ember took a little bit longer. I didn't want to have to heal, but that's Giovanni. And now we can go back to Fuchsia and battle Koga. But as I do some item management, a thought dawned on me. Do we want to battle Koga? Shouldn't we stick with special moves? They tend to be better, like Psychic, but I'm not going to keep doing that, I promise. Yes, Psychic made Koga really easy, but even without, it probably would help to have Fire Punch, a move I did know that I actually learned. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to go and grab Mimic, and we're actually going to battle Sabrina before Koga or Blaine, which is very rare. And the battle went pretty well. All right, so against Kadabra, we use Body Slam at one-shots. Don't forget, Magmar actually has higher attack than special. Body Slam 2 shots, Mr. Mime. Now, you might think Psychic would help versus Venomoth, but don't worry, it's still a 2-shot with Psychic. I don't think I have the footage. Maybe AJ will show it, but I promise you, it is. And then against Alakazam, we get a crit, Hyper Potion, we get the paralysis, and bam! First try victory versus Sabrina. Unfortunately, we're still at level 41, and I really would like to be at level 43 to battle Koga. Without Koga, I can't go to Blaine because I don't have access to Surf outside of battle. So I think what we're going to do here is we're gonna battle all the trainers in Koga's gym. Thankfully, they mostly have psychic Pokemon, which are very weak to body slam. Well, not literally, but like, I mean, look how much damage that did. One thing I want to point out, I might have messed up with my moveset, but like, look how good Magmar looks. Sometimes I just nail it with the color scheme, and you know what? I want to toot my own horn. I nailed it. This looks exactly like Magmar is supposed to. I am very proud of myself right now. But yeah, battling these trainers isn't actually that big a deal because Gyarados is usually a huge problem for fire Pokemon. So we're probably going to have to level up anyway once we get the Elite Four. So might as well battle these trainers whom, once you defeat the gym leader, can't be battled. But anyway, I've monologued long enough that we actually have Fire Punch and we're ready to battle Koga. Alright, so we're going to want to use Fire Punch since they have way better defense than Special. It doesn't one-shot, which annoyed me a bit, but it's not a big deal. Fire Punch gets a crit, that's good. Poison Gas is not good. Fire Punch does one-shot the second Coughing, and it's going to be a 3-shot, but we actually get a Burn, and we get Smog twice. Burn didn't end up mattering because it didn't use Sludge or Self-Destruct, but if it did, might have been the difference. But we didn't even need it to be the difference. First try victory versus Koga. Now we have to go battle Blaine, and once we defeat him, we get Fire Blast, which, although it can miss 15% of the time, is a base 120 power move. That's pretty helpful, but we first have to actually defeat Blaine. Alright, Blaine leads with Growlithe. We're going to go for Fire Punch by accident, so I'm going to actually reset. Whoops. That happens a lot. I'm just sometimes clicking A. I'm doing this very quickly. After you've done 70 of these, they do start to kind of become a little mindless sometimes, but we knock out Growlithe with 2 Body Slams. Ponyta, we go for Body Slam. Tail Whip's going to increase my speed, which is good, and my attack. Body Slam gets a crit. Unfortunately, Stomp does more damage because we lowered our defense. But we got Roar, Roar, Roar. It's got the Eye of the Tiger. I mean, literally in the song, they do say Roar 3 times. And it did not have the Eye of the Tiger because it lost. And the Eye of the Tiger, I think in the song, is supposed to win, right? It'd be a pretty bad pump-up song if you lost. Anyway, before I go and battle Giovanni, I forget to do this a lot, where I actually have to get strength. We've talked about this a few times, but just little things that end up mattering in the run, but we're going to skip ahead to Giovanni. But before we do, I thought I'd make a quick return to the run I did afterwards with Psychic. Again, bit of an asterisk here because it was a second run, but you can see when I save in front of Giovanni here, I'm at 2 hours 51 minutes. I was able to save 17 minutes by using Psychic. How was I able to do that? Well, through better routing and the fact Psychic is pretty good against a lot of the trainers and gym leaders. So you already saw Rival 5. Let's just do a quick recap of the other major battles and how Psychic helped. Giovanni 2, we save a little bit of time because, well, against Giovanni 2, we just simply use Psychic instead of having to just rely on Body Slam and Ember. However, you might notice we still do run out of power points. This is kind of natural because unless you want to heal and waste the time healing, you're not going to have a lot of power points, and I do like to save elixirs just in case I need them for the Elite Four. You can't get those back. In the end, the battle was just a little bit faster here, but some other battles are a lot faster. Well, how about Koga? Well, funny story about that, we actually battled Koga earlier. That's right, I had already defeated Koga by the time I beat Giovanni 2. So the fact we're at the same level shows I didn't need to battle the trainers in Koga's gym, and because of Psychic, we're able to 1 or 2-shot most of Koga's Pokemon. Psychic also has a 33% chance of lowering Special, which might make it helpful later on in the run. But yeah, I actually beat Koga first, which saves quite a bit of time. I didn't battle Sabrina next, although I probably should have, and I went to battle Blaine. I'll say this was a bit of a mistake, but it probably didn't end up costing me all that much time, to be honest with you. To beat Blaine, we just use a combination of Psychic and Body Slam. Again, I will admit this was a mistake. I actually forgot to battle Sabrina. Even in a second run, I make mistakes. That's why some people do more than one. But again, the spirit of the tier list is what it would be like to do this on a first attempt. It's just what we've always done, because it's kind of fun that way. But yeah, Blaine actually largely went the same, but probably would have been a little more consistent had I done it after. Sabrina ended up being pretty easy. I don't really have much to say. You already saw a successful Sabrina battle, and now I'm even at a higher level. So Sabrina was pretty good, and Giovanni is definitely one. I guess I can show this Giovanni battle first before I return back to our original run, because it's definitely a lot easier to do this battle with Psychic. So he leads with Rhyhorn. We have Psychic so we can one-shot. I accidentally go for Fire Punch, which was a mistake. Whoops. 44, that's good. Unfortunately, Fire Punch doesn't knock out Dugtrio. So as it turns out, we're going to have to teach Fire Blast. Now, I did want to keep Confuse Ray, potentially for Gyarados, but I realized there's so much luck to Gyarados with Confuse Ray, it's probably not worthwhile. I mean, I could still keep it, but I'm going to get Flamethrower, and do I want that too? I hadn't decided yet, but you can see actually it's still not a one-shot, and I try to go for Body Slam, save Fire Blast. Wasn't a good idea, but Fire Blast does one-shot Dugtrio. Psychic, however, does not one-shot Nidoqueen. It might not one-shot Nidoking either, it doesn't. Thrash does a lot of damage, but thankfully, Rhydon can't do all that much to me, and I have 2 Psychics left and a Fire Blast. Why not use that? Giovanni, too. Pretty easy for me. How about you, previous Gyros? How did it go without Psychic? Not so bad. So without Psychic, it just means we have to rely on Fire Blast a little bit more. Don't forget, I would still have Fire Punch here because I don't have need for Psychic. I also had already gotten rid of Confuse Ray, which, well, we'll talk about that. Anyway, we do get a bunch of crits, and we burn Nidoking, so it really wasn't that bad. It ended up being, I think this was a first try victory. So, yeah, Psychic really matters the most for Koga, and doing things in a more convenient order, for now. It will matter later in ways that you might find obvious, or I'll explain to you. But for now, let's stick with this run a little bit more and talk about how we battled Rival 6. Rival 6 is way tougher than Rival 5 because Blastoise now has Hydro Pump, but it's a 1 in 2 chance to use it. Thankfully for us, Withdraw is classified as a water move, and it's equally likely to use that. So we're going to need it to use that, but I think we might have to use the rare candies here. Let's see. All right, so Rival 6 leads with Pidgeot. Now, we're going to go for Fire Blast. It doesn't knock it out. It does burn, which is kind of nice. We knock it out with Fire Punch. Remember, we don't have Psychic in this run, so we're going to use Fire Blast and Fire Punch to knock out Rhyhorn. Growlithe gets paralyzed. It's not a 1 KO. Execute Fire Punch knocks it out. Alakazam, however, outspeeds, and we don't get the paralysis the first turn. We do actually get it the second turn and knock it out. However, here's the Pokemon I'm actually worried about. We do next to nothing to Blastoise with Body Slam, and it easily knocks us out with Hydro Pump. Now, listen, it's slightly unoptimal to do this, but for this run, obviously rare candies are going to make a huge difference. Now Fire Blast one-shots Pidgeot. It even one-shots Rhyhorn, albeit with a crit. Body Slam one-shots Growlithe. Flamethrower, that's right, we have Flamethrower now, knocks out Execute. Body Slam doesn't one-shot Alakazam, I was surprised by that. And we get a miss with Hydro Pump, and then we use Fire Blast, and shockingly, Fire Blast, albeit with a crit, did more than Body Slam. We're starting to get to a point where Psychic doesn't make a huge difference here. I mean, you might think against Blastoise it would. You can see that Flamethrower doesn't actually knock out Pidgeot. Psychic does knock out Rhyhorn, but didn't really matter. We have Flamethrower for Execute, and now Alakazam, Body Slam still doesn't one-shot, but we get a Potion, which is lucky. Psychic does do a little bit more than Body Slam did. It's still a 3 KO, and we needed to rely on Withdraw luck. And that's not going to change when it comes to the champion either. So, yeah. As it turned out, like I said right at the beginning when I realized this mistake and I admitted to it, Psychic actually doesn't make as big a difference towards the end of the game as you might think it would. Which is surprising because Agatha is coming up and it's super effective, but as you're going to see, it isn't Agatha that proved to be the big problem. And you know what? Why don't I just show you how I got through the Elite Four? Lorelei is pretty annoying, but we do have a bit of a strategy. So Dugong thankfully doesn't always go for Rest. We can knock it out with Flamethrower. Cloyster, however, it went for Clamp, so we obviously should go for Fire Blast. We knock it out. Now against Slowbro, I'm going to use Mimic. Now, it does crit with Water Gun, so it knocks me out, so we have to try again. But this is one time where not having Psychic actually benefits me a little bit, because we have that extra move slot to use Mimic. So the reason why Mimic Amnesia works so well, as you're going to see, is Lapras is kind of annoying. It has Hydro Pump, it does a lot of damage, but Amnesia in this generation is both offensive and defensive. Water Gun's doing nothing, Flamethrower is going to one-shot, we could even use Body Slam to one-shot Jinx, and we easily one-shot Lapras, assuming we don't crit, which we did, but it's not too big a deal. Now, Bruno, you might think, oh, Psychic's great for that. It's going to be so great. Nah, Bruno's pretty easy no matter what. We can use Flamethrower and one-shot Onix, that's right. Flamethrower one-shots Hitmonchan, Flamethrower one-shots Hitmonlee, Flamethrower one-shots Onix. Oh, okay, well, it doesn't quite one-shot Onix number 2, and it doesn't one-shot Machamp, but Submission, even if it crits, won't knock me out. So we don't really have to talk about these two. Now, what we do need to talk about is Agatha. Agatha was definitely pretty frustrating, but I don't think I'm going to lose so much to her. You see, I'm going to use Fire Blast, and it's a 2 KO at level 59. In fact, I can even use a Flamethrower to knock it out. It one-shot Golbat, albeit with a crit, almost one-shots Haunter, and we are outspeeding. Arbok, it can't withstand Fire Blast, and then against Gengar number 2, we actually get a pretty clutch burn, and I think that might have made the difference, but none of this really matters. None of this matters at all, because here is the real battle. Here is what took me forever to do. Lance. Because we use Body Slam, we get hit by Hydro Pump, Fire Blast does roughly the same. Yeah. Yep. And this is why Psychic doesn't really matter. This is why it makes very little difference. Because no matter what happens, no matter what we do, that Gyarados is still going to take multiple hits to knock out. So, what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to try to battle a few more times. And we can just fast forward, because the battle is even worse than you think. See, we hit with Body Slam, fully paralyzed, so we literally don't get attacked by Gyarados. We win, right? Wrong. So I'm going to try Mimic Agility, get some badge boosts, but there's a critical hit Hyper Beam. That's right. Dragonair can still use Hyper Beam, and it's not just Dragonair that can use Hyper Beam. Also, we level up so badge boosts are useless. But so can Aerodactyl. It doesn't. It uses Bite, but a critical hit, it's still bad. Now you'll notice, I just keep the experience points because I'm very, very certain in order to beat the rest of Lance's Pokemon, we're going to need to level up. There are still some trainers I have left in Victory Road. So I'm going to battle them, gain some levels, and I'll come back. We're at level 67. Ideally, Hydro Pump would take 3 hits to knock me out, but that's very unlikely. The other thing ideally that would happen is it would be a 2-shot with Body Slam. That's not happening. Hydro Pump does have a 20% chance to miss, which is nice, but unfortunately, it needs to happen at least twice. So we need to be very careful with using our elixirs. We need to be very careful with power points. There was a whole strategy I used with which moves were going to be used, whether it be Flamethrower, Fire Blast, but one benefit of leveling up is Agatha's Pokemon start to be one-shot by Fire Blast, well, at least her weaker Pokemon do. Lorelei's a little easier, so getting to Lance consistently proved to be not that big a deal. Still, we're only gaining 1 or 2 levels before we fight Lance, and it just takes 2 Hydro Pumps to knock me out. And that's Gyarados. We haven't even gotten to Dragonite yet. We're 0 for 4 versus Lance, and you can see we're still leveling up. And a critical hit. But there was a positive out of that situation. It seems like with a range, we are doing roughly half. And if we do half, if we get a paralysis or if we get a miss, we can get by Gyarados, and then we might have a shot versus the rest of Lance's Pokemon. Take 6 versus Lance and his Gyarados. Body Slam paralyzes, Hydro Pump hits, but with a crit, we knock it out. Now we gotta just use Body Slam, Hyper Beam hits, and I'm going to Mimic Agility to try and outspeed Aerodactyl. And once I did that, I got an idea. We knock out the first Dragonair. The second Dragonair comes out. We get a crit. Okay. Now here's Aerodactyl. The best move I have is Fire Blast. It's going to be a 2 KO, and it misses with Supersonic. But now we need Dragonite to cooperate with us. We go for Body Slam, and that is cooperation. It goes for Barrier. So I'm going to have to go for Fire Blast. Yes! We got a crit. All right. I think we may have won. I don't know. It's going to be close. It's going to be very, very close. The biggest fear is Blastoise. And while we do have Mimic, there isn't a useful move to Mimic unless we want to take our chances with Executor Hypnosis. I don't think I do. Let's just battle and see how this goes. Hopefully this is the first try victory. So I'm going to go for Flamethrower, and it just misses the knockout, but Wing Attack only does 20. Alakazam, hopefully this one-shots. It does with a crit. That's excellent. Fire Blast on Rhydon, another crit. Excellent. Body Slam, Roar is fine. Body Slam, crit. Oh my gosh. So I'm going to go for Flamethrower. Better accurate. Oh no. Oh no. Come on. Please wake up. Please wake up. Barrage is better than... Alright, we woke up, but we are only at half HP, meaning we can't survive Hydro Pump. Fire Blast is doing half. No! No! If only I had used Fire Blast, I didn't know. I didn't know that wouldn't knock it out. Man, Executor is bulky. That's super effective, but hey, that's what having mediocre base special will do. And Executor is excellent base special. So clearly this is when I say, but we made it right back. No, we didn't make it right back. We didn't make it right back at all. We're 1 for 6 versus Lance, but that's a precarious position because one crit Hydro Pump and it's done. And we have to start all over again. And at this point, I'd been on the Elite Four for about half an hour, and I was starting to get pretty frustrated. We're 1 in 6 versus Lance. I go for Body Slam. Hydro Pump hits, still doing over half, and Body Slam is still a range, but thankfully Lance doesn't heal. Now, we're not knocking out Dragonair in one hit, which is annoying, but we're gonna Body Slam. If Gyarados missed, I have another strategy, but for now, I'm just gonna have to rely on, a nice burn versus Aerodactyl. Just need good luck, and no. Hyper Beam Dragonite. Remember, we got Barrier, and then we got a critical hit through Fire Blast. That's not going to happen too often. So, I'm annoyed. I realize how lucky it was that I beat Lance the first time. How am I going to make this consistent? This is my 9th battle versus Lance. I'm at level 73. And, we're still not getting what we want. I'm using Body Slam because we're still getting hit. Nice crit there. Fire Blast, nice crit there. So we have 97 HP. Body Slam, Slam is fine. No Hyper Beam. Agility's good. No Hyper Potion. We get the paralysis, but on the last possible turn, another Hyper Beam and another loss versus Lance. It's becoming apparent that while it's possible to win once being hit by Hydro Pump, really, we need either it to be paralyzed, which isn't very likely. I think it's like a 25% out of 33%. So what's that, like 8% chance? So yeah, or the 20% chance to miss. You'll also notice though, I've mimicked Hyper Beam. Hyper Beam is far better, but still won't one-shot Dragonite. It goes for Slam, which has a chance to miss. So that is my plan. I want to mimic Hyper Beam, because that will guarantee that I two-shot Dragonite as long as it doesn't use Barrier. But I need a turn to set that up. Well, on the 11th try, and don't forget, I don't save. I have to keep battling the Elite Four. We're still level 73. We get the non-attack that I want. I'm going to go for Body Slam, which was a mistake. Hyper Beam, I know one-shots Dragonair. I go for Fire Blast. Aerodactyl thankfully misses with Supersonic, but then we get the famous Gen 1 miss, a 1 in 256 chance that you miss a move that shouldn't miss, Then we get hit by Supersonic. We don't hit ourselves in confusion and knock out Aerodactyl, but we're confused. We level up. I go for Body Slam. Of course, I hit myself in confusion. It goes for Hyper Beam. That means it has to recharge. We're at 70 HP. We hit ourselves in confusion again during the recharge turn. I go for Body Slam. It goes for Agility. That means it gets one more turn to attack, but I'm going to go for Hyper Beam. It goes for Barrier, and unfortunately, we don't knock it out. Now it gets a turn to attack me while I recharge. Actually gets two. First turn, it goes for Barrier. I recharge. I have to go for Fire Blast, and I actually misclicked. I went for Body Slam, which would have knocked it out. It goes for Regular Slam, and Gen 1 miss into 50% Supersonic, into hitting myself in confusion multiple times. It's just that kind of run. Take 12 versus Lance. By the way, I'm 12 for 13 versus Agatha. We get the miss. That's perfect. We're going to mimic Hyper Beam. Dragon Rage is fine. Hyper Beam knocks out. Hyper Beam knocks out. It does have a 10% chance to miss. I go for Fire Blast. It misses. Hyper Beam's annoying, so I can go for Flamethrower. I get the Hyper Potion, but Aerodactyl still has to recharge the next available turn, so it's fine. Now Dragonite, I go for Body Slam. It's paralyzed. It goes... I survived. I survived! All right. Okay, so just don't use Flamethrower versus Executor. We should be fine. I'm running out of Ethers and Elixirs because I've been using them. Please let this be the end. Please let this be the end. Come on. All right. Pidgeot. Fire Blast. Knocked out. Perfect. We learned that from last time. Body Slam. Knocked out. Perfect. Fire Blast misses. Tail Whip misses. Fire Blast hits. Burn. Tail Whip misses. Actually, Tail Whip could have helped. Would have raised my special. Whatever. Arcanine. Body Slam. It's paralyzed. Roar. Perfect. Body Slam. Full restore. Yikes. Body Slam. Takedown. Actually. No, not a crit. But I'm happy Tail Whip didn't hit. Fire Blast. We knock it out. Let's go. Fire Blast. We hit. Hydro Pump. Oh, no. It's Withdraw. Oh, no. We miss. And it crits. Are you kidding me? I was ready for the Hydro Pump. I was ready. I think we would live. Oh, my God. It missed. 15% chance miss into a crit. This game can be very cruel sometimes. All right, we just got to try again. You might have noticed I went to the fighting dojo to gain one more level. I think it's going to help us. So here's the strats I use versus the rest of the Elite Four. Flamethrower doesn't knock out Dugong, but I don't have a lot of elixirs left, so I have to conserve power points. I no longer have to rely on Fire Blast for Cloyster. Against Slowbro, I still use Amnesia, but I only need to use one. It's usually a 1-hit KO, but sometimes it isn't. That's annoying. We can knock out Jinx with Flamethrower, and Lapras we can knock out with a single Flamethrower as well. Crit doesn't matter. Against Bruno, we already know what's going to happen, so let's just speed ahead. You can see I only have one elixir left, because usually I reset, but some of these battles I didn't want to reset. I wanted the extra experience points in order to keep gaining levels, because if Hydro Pump would be a 3-shot, I mean, Gyarados would be a heck of a lot easier. We survived on 4 HP versus Dragonite. That only happened because we leveled up so much. So Agatha, here's the strategy I use now. I go for Flamethrower versus Gengar 1, I get the crit. Fire Blast still isn't a one-shot. It is versus Golbat. It's a range with Flamethrower. Fire Blast one-shots Haunter and Arbok. Now Gengar number 2, we miss on turn 1. It's a 2-hit KO, but we can use Flamethrower to finish it off. Now I can use the Elixir, and I can battle Lance. We actually are a level higher. After that last loss to the champion, I thought one more level. I wasn't sure if Fire Blast would 2-shot, and I want to make sure it does. Hydro Pump hits. We're still at 95, so I'm going to go for Mimic. I don't care. 55, so we need no Hyper Beam from Aerodactyl or Dragonite. Looks like it's going to need some luck. We get some luck with a crit. I go for Body Slam. It goes for Barrier. That means I need to rely on Fire Blast, which of course can miss, and it does miss, and it goes for Agility, which means that, yay, it's going to get to attack first. And what does it do with that first attack? It goes for Hyper Beam, which misses. But of course, Fire Blast also misses. Then it goes for Agility. And I hit with Fire Blast, but I still need one more hit to knock it out. It goes for Slam, and guess what? It misses. I don't. Take that, Lance. And can we finally beat the champion at level 74? This Elite Four has been pretty brutal. Fire Blast one-shots Pidgeot. Body Slam one-shots Alakazam. We level up. Rhydon, we're going to go for Flamethrower, and we crit. That's fine. Arcanine, we go for Body Slam. It crits. Leer is fine. We knock it out. In fact, that makes our special a little higher, which gives us an even better chance of knocking out Blastoise. We go for Fire Blast. It goes for Hydro Pump. And with that Leer, it actually would be a 3 KO. We don't need it, though. We hit with Fire Blast, and that is it. But what about the tier list? Well, if we were to count the run where I forgot to use Psychic, level 75, 449. But what about using Psychic? How much did that change the Elite Four? I said not much, but was I just kind of exaggerating? Of course I have the footage, so why don't I show you? So with Psychic, a couple things changed that are sort of relevant, but a lot of things changed that are largely irrelevant. So we don't have Mimic for Amnesia, which is actually really annoying. And that means against Slowbro, what we have to do is we need to rely on Fire Blast. Like Blastoise, it's a 1 in 2 chance it goes for Withdraw. Flamethrower actually isn't a 2-shot, but we can knock it out with Body Slam. We can use Flamethrower to 1-shot Jinx, and we will survive a Hydro Pump by Lapras. So we can just use a couple Fire Blast. I actually meant to switch to Flamethrower, but that's okay. So you can see here, I haven't had to battle the Elite Fours many times, so I have all my elixirs, and I still have Mimic in case we want it. Against Bruno, yes, we don't actually need to rely on Flamethrower, but will it really matter? No, because I use Flamethrower anyway. Why? Because just in case I need to level up more, I'm not sure if we're going to have to go all the way up to level 75 again. I want to conserve my Psychic power points. But Flamethrower is one-shotting the champ, so that's pretty cool. Against Agatha, yes, Psychic is a little helpful, but remember, I was 13 for 14 against her or something like that. Psychic doesn't one-shot at level 70, by the way. It doesn't even always one-shot Golbat, if I recall correctly. Haunter, it does. Arbok, it does. But Gengar number 2, it doesn't. But you can see, oh, well, the crit, it does. Where it makes, though, a big difference, and where it really made the run a lot less annoying, was Gyarados. Why? Because Psychic has a 33% chance to lower Special, and if you lower Special, not only will that make Psychic a 2 KO, it'll also reduce the amount of damage Hydro Pump does. So we get that here. Hydro Pump only does, actually, it's not a 2 KO. Holy moly, we needed a miss. Okay, so maybe we had to level up one more. Again, we don't have Mimic for Hyper Beam, so I have to rely on Body Slam, which would do more than Psychic. Against Aerodactyl, Psychic does do more. We get a special drop, which is irrelevant. But against Dragonite, we still need pretty good luck. And we get it here. But yeah, theoretically, being another level higher could have helped. But obviously, we got a little bit of favorable luck. Well, I guess we got a bad range on Gyarados, so I think our luck was kind of average. But against the champion, pretty much we're going to do the same thing as before for the most part. We're going to go for Fire Blast. We miss, and so Pidgeot goes for Fire Blast. We go for Fire Blast to knock it out. We still have Body Slam. This is why I keep it for Alakazam. Now, I can use Psychic versus Rhydon. Crit knocks it out. Against Arcanine, Body Slam still does more. Takedown, Body Slam, we knock it out. We got to go for Fire Blast versus Executor. And then against Blastoise, yes, we can use Psychic. We get the special drop, and that would have been huge had it used Hydro Pump, which it didn't. So, after all this, after probably the biggest mistake in my Gen 1 tier list career, how much time, how many levels? We know that it's 3 levels it cost me, but how much time? You might be surprised to learn, only about 20 minutes. That's it. So from a tier list perspective, it's whether it's below wheezing or above wheezing. Now, it's annoying because trying to compare a second run to a first run is going to be difficult. There are things you learn, and I tried my best to make the same mistakes, do the same routing for the most part, to try and keep the second run time as legit as I can. So I'm going to count that second run time and that level. I think Psychic does make a big enough difference in the mid-game to justify that huge time save, but you might feel differently. That's okay, the tier list was never meant to be super scientific. That's the whole logic behind only using the first playthrough. Thankfully, it was during the Electabuzz run, pretty early on, that I realized both these Pokemon learned Psychic, so I didn't make that mistake there, and that's the video that's probably going to come out next. We'll see. I have a lot of videos ready to come out, so hopefully you'll watch all of them, subscribe, like, do all those things, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.